Alright guys, the Unity Cup semifinals have been played and we have our finalists. Jamaica will take on Nigeria this Saturday. And let's talk about what we saw in both matchups. First matchup, we saw Jamaica take on their Caribbean rivals, Trinidad and Tobago, Soca Warriors versus Reggae Boys, and this was an interesting game. It was a fun game. I will say both games in the Unity Cup have been fun of chances. Their second halves, that's actually a good way to look at it. Their first halves were very much one-sided. Their second halves left you with some entertaining football that I think you could be happy with how you saw. So first matchup, we had Trinidad and Tobago falling to Jamaica. And to me, I think I want to look at this set. There's multiple ways you can look at this. Not just because, the guy on the inside of me lost, so I'm thinking, whatever. But I want to look at it this way. I think if you're these coaches, especially the CONCACAF sides, Jamaica and Trinidad, you guys, they both have World Cup qualifiers coming up shortly. So were they able to see players who could either contribute to that or possibly come back and contribute a little bit later? I think, yes, they could have. As a goal scorer, you have Ronaldo Cephas drawing a penalty at 25th minute, which Casey Palmer puts away. Then Roman Burrell scores a overhead kick in the box, making it 2-0 in the 53rd minute. Isaiah Leacock responds nearly immediately in the 54th minute. And then Kevin Molino, off of a rebound from a shot, puts it away. It's 2-2. But then Cephas in the 94th minute draws another penalty, and Richard King puts it away. 3-2 for Trinidad and Tobago. And for me, it's intriguing for me because, again, I think outside of Canada, the most of the time I spend in the space in the Jamaican space, so it's rather interesting to kind of think about it in this regards. But this is probably the best I've seen their midfield in a game look. Now, granted, you don't get to play a weakened side, and they were also a weakened side, but you don't get to play a lesser side of your rivals every day. And so can Jamaica, I think that's a good question for me, and we'll go into that a little bit later. We're going to do a live on Thursday. But can Jamaica replicate that midfield play? I think they could do, if they can do that, I think that really starts to unlock a lot, because once they can get the ball and build up, you don't have to be spraying long balls to their wingers. Ronaldo Cephas is the type of player where I think you saw the good and bad of him. Yes, he draws 2 penalties, and you can definitely say he was active, but in front of the net, you also noticed that he didn't have the best finishing touch. His final third product was lacking, but you also saw the potential. I think that's how you look at Jamaica these days. You see the potential, but can they ever put it together? That will always be the question. When you're at Trinidad, I think you also see some things that you can build off of. I think able to build into the game was very good for them. I think the thing that I'm most curious about with Trinidad is, again, this Dwight York era. What does it look like? All right. One of my big criticisms of a team like Jamaica is that I don't know what their identity is. But I feel like I see it a little bit more with Trinidad. So I feel like I can lean more onto what to expect from the Soca Warriors versus the Reggae Boys. The Reggae Boys just feel like a side that if you get the ball into space, maybe that's their strategy. Maybe that is their plan. I don't think they're that well off defensively because we haven't seen their midfield play well. We don't see their center backs always build up through the midfield. John Russell had a good showing for them. But I think with McLaren in Jamaica, my question is, what is their identity on the pitch? Because in many ways they look good, and in many ways they feel like, and by no means am I trying to take shots at this coach, but they feel like sometimes the Chris Hughton Ghana team, where you look at them and say, what are we trying to do exactly? And I think that is my worry. But they got the win. Again, Palmer gained a goal. I think the midfield of John Russell and Casey Palmer definitely looked good. Roman Burrell, I think, could be an interesting player. with them. You forget that with Jamaica, they didn't play with Antonio, they didn't play with Demarai Gray. I know everyone is still wondering, is a player like Greenwood going to come for them? Off the pitch issues aside, there is potential with the side, right? We saw a little bit of, I wonder if we'll see some more rotation within those sides. But Jamaica gets the job done. But those are my concerns. And with Trinidad and Tobago, Rio Cardines, I think he's a player, 19 years old, playing in Crystal Palace. I think he's a player, if they haven't already got him into that setup, I think this was his first game. Rio Cardines really left an impact on me. I think he really showed well. His crossing delivery, his dead ball, free kicks. I liked a lot what I saw from Rio Cardines. And I think if it's Trinidad, that's another young player that you can very much look forward to see. But from there we go to Trinidad's loss to my loss. Ghana versus Nigeria at the Unity Cup. Ghana losing that a 2-1. I mean, it's a story of the first half. You saw it. I think when you look at both sides in this game, Ghana tried to try some new players, but then give their players a little bit of some cover. The one thing I noticed in their starting 11, so for Ghana, Brandon Asare in the back, Mamoudou as your right back, Stephen Ambrosius, Aaron Essel, Gideon Mensah was your back line. Essel struggled. Essel got injured, but Essel, his man marking was a little bit off. And hey, he's a young player. That's something we'll talk about with this Ghana side versus this Nigeria side. You have Razak Simpson. You have Abdul Samed. You have Ashmiru playing well. And then up front, you had Christopher Bonsuba, Poku, and then Jordan Ayew. Now, on the other side, you have very much the same idea with Nigeria, but Nigeria's regular players, they were levels above some of the players that they were attacking, right? Chukwueze, Dessers, and Sikru up top, with Daniel Ndidi and Onyeka in the middle, and Sokid, Ajayi, Okbu, and Oyemashi in the back line, then Stephen, their goalie. Like, Nigeria looked better. And one of the things I looked into this game saying, if you are a coach like Otto Addo and even Eric Schell, how do you balance, because African teams don't have any competitive games until World Cup qualifiers. How do you balance wanting to win a rivalry game but also trying to see players? And frankly, I didn't mind Otto Addo going to this choice, because to me, I thought Ashmira would be a good choice. We get to see what Razak Simpson could do. We got to see what Opoku could do on the pitch. But I think the clear thing was you got to see some players just weren't ready. And that's okay. That's okay. Aaron Essel, young player, might have a bright future, but in this game, his man marking was off. He doesn't mark well. That's what leads to the first goal from Dessers, right? The ball gets turned over, the cross gets put in, and then the next thing you're doing, he drops two back, Dessers gets the ball and puts it right past Asare. The man marking was bad. Ambrosius struggled a little bit within that as well. I think there were points where you could only say, yeah, I think the best players were Gideon Mensah, Ashmiru, and then to different extents, Jordan Ayew in the first half. Samuel Chukwueze was eating the fullbacks, not named Gideon Mensah. Eating the center backs, not named any of them. And Nigeria was the better side in the first half. No doubt. But for me, like I said, look, there was a possibility. At one point I thought this might end in a 6-0, and I would not have been happy. But Ghana turned it around in the second half. Brandon Thomas Asante scores off a beautiful feed in the second half, makes it 2-1. You have Jordan Ayew missing a golden opportunity. There are players we need to talk about, and we'll go into them in a little bit more depth. But Caleb, I think he played so well. right? The two substitutes at half, Brandon and Caleb, they came in and you felt their presence on the pitch. Brandon has that 9, which pushed Jordan Ayew out wide. Brandon was utilizing the space quite well. Brandon, to me, he plays the way you would think if they would feed a player. Now, yes, Iñaki hasn't had the best goal-scoring opportunities. Inyaki's better out wide, but what you imagined it to be, I think that's what you saw it as. And so for me, it was great to see him finally get his debut goal. Caleb Orenchi. Caleb was defending well. He had opportunities against, and as a right back, he becomes interesting to me because you look at Ghana's right back depth. Normally, you have your starter, then you have Tariq Lamptey. Can he do enough to push forward and maybe get an invite? I think it'll come down to opportunity for him. All right. Another player who I think played so well in the second half, Bonsuba. He truly, his energy, those three, it was almost as if the kids for Ghana said, hey, we are up to this level. Those kids did. Aaron Essel struggled in the first half and had to come off injured. You do have to give credit for Anan, who came in, who played well enough to look good. But I think, Bonsuba, Caleb Enrichi, I think those players really did well. And now it comes down to conversation with depth. Overall, Nigeria, though, I think they did enough with Ghana's poor defending in the first half, opening up the opportunities for them. They got the win. They deserved it. And so you have the final happening on Saturday. You have Nigeria versus Jamaica. I think on paper you have the most profiled teams. I think Nigeria takes it. We'll see. I think based off this, there are levels to this. And I think Nigeria is the better of the two sides. But the league play won't be much of a shock for some of these players. So we will go and see what they're able to do. But looking forward to see what they can do. All right. And then Ghana versus Trinidad and Tobago. I'm hoping Ghana wins that one. But yeah, you guys let me know what you thought. And as always, I'm going to stop talking right here.